Welcome everybody to today's live YouTube live. I am thrilled to be here. My name is Cathi Nelson. I'm the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. And today we have the privilege of interviewing, or I have the privilege and you get to meet her, of Amanda, who is joining us from London, which is wonderful that she's coming, the joy and beauty of the internet, right? So Amanda, why don't you come on and tell us about yourself, your business, and we'll jump in and get started, why you sort your photos and how to get started.
Hi, thank you, Cathi. Yes. So for those who don't know me, I am Amanda Littlecott, the photo organizer. And yes, I am based in London in the UK, hence the accent, in case anyone had spotted that. So hopefully you can understand me. So yeah, just a bit of an intro. So for those who don't know me, some of my subscribers might be joining us, but I am a photo manager based in the UK and I help all of my clients sort out all of their photo overwhelm, whether it's printed photos, digital photos, and then help them share them as well through my business, Clear Bubble Photo Organizing. But I am also passionate, as I know Cathi is, about helping all of those, kind of DIYers, all those who want to help themselves. And I have my own YouTube channel called Amanda Littlecott, the Photo Organizer. There's a theme there. And today I'm hoping that we can share and start you on that journey to sorting your photos.
Excellent. Yes. And isn't that amazing that there are professional photo managers throughout the world? And right, who knew? And we just actually had a great article in Motley Fool. I don't know if you saw that, but it's a very large audience. Yes, that it was like, can you actually make money organizing people's photos? And the answer was absolutely, because people are overwhelmed with their photos, right? So those of you joining us today, we assume you're here with us for that reason. And we like to talk, we call it DIY, and we give a lot of tips. And then those that actually maybe throw their hands up and say, Amanda, let me give it all to you and you figure it out for me, which is absolutely an option. But what is it that usually, why should people get their photos organized? And what is it that, why do people need to do this in your opinion?
I think people just need to, we need to do it because it's all of our memories, it's our history, it's our legacy. But I think the reason most people kind of start on the journey is because there's usually some kind of trigger that starts people on that journey. And there's lots of different triggers. The one that I see quite a lot when it comes to digital stuff is usually there's been some kind of disaster. They've dropped their phone, their computer has crashed, their hard drive is no longer working, or they get one of those little emails from, like Google or Apple going, you need to give us more money, and because you've run out of space. So therefore, people kind of suddenly just go, oh my God, I need to do something about it. So that's kind of like the digital side of things. That's where people start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always tell people, like, when you get that little notice, like, would you like to add some more storage? It's like, if somebody knocked on your door and said, would you like me to build another closet in the back of your house? I mean, because it's so easy to just say yes, because, oh, it's $1 or $2 or whatever. And you just keep, adding. But really what you're doing is just creating, I mean, you're just saying yes to like more and more closets that you'll have to go through someday.
And when you do the sums as well, it doesn't feel that much when you're like, oh, it's only like a couple of dollars a month, it's fine. And then when you add it up, you're like, yeah, that's, I'm now tied in for life to be able to.
Yeah, I always, and when people, I don't know how many people are listening, but maybe say yes if you are. How many of you might be thinking there's some magic button that everybody else discovered about organizing their photos, but you missed it somewhere along the way. And I try to tell people, look, these companies have no vested interest in making this easier, because they make money on the additional storage, right? That's their proposition, right? So every time we say yes,
I think they've all realized that our photos are a really good commodity. There's a reason why, a few years ago, Google Photos was no longer free. And, they know that we love taking photos, and which is great. I love the fact that people love taking photos. I love going through photos and sharing them with my family. But yeah, it's going to cost you. Nothing in life is free. And if it is free, you kind of need to question why. But yeah, before we digress too far down that route. But yeah, and I think that there's digital, but then there's also this printed stuff that everyone gets as well. Yeah, which we've all got in our kind of attics and basements and, in the garage out back, it's all of that stuff as well that people don't know what to do with as well.
Yeah, and what are some of the triggers that you find that that fit in that category?
Yeah, so there's the the downsizing. There's people who get to that point in life where they're just like, I'm going to downsize. I'm going to go to a smaller place, and then what do I do with all these boxes of photos? because then there's also their own photos that they've probably got. They've probably got all of the photos from their children that they don't know what to do with. And then there's all the photos that they've inherited as well. So they always end up with just all this printed stuff and old cine films and, you know, VHS tapes. And there was also a time when we thought, you know, remember CDs and discs, they were the new thing. They were going to save us all. And now, like, if you can find a computer that has got a disc, you know, drive on it, it's probably really old and won't work. So people just don't know what to do with all of that stuff. So that's the downsizing trigger, or I've inherited a load of stuff, or there's some kind of disaster. So those are the type of things that will end up if you have a flood, or, you know, there's, you know, fires, or, you know, that type of thing is happening more and more.
Yeah.
And
right.
usually that's the trigger, is like either I've managed to save it, or I've ended up with all these wet photos and I don't know what to do with them, and I really want to rescue my memories. So there's that kind of trigger when it comes to all that printed stuff as well.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, from a trigger. I mean, now, you know, it's like the shoemaker has no shoes, but when my son got engaged recently, and I always say that another trigger is usually like a life event, like a graduation or a wedding or a new birth of a baby. And here my son was getting engaged, and suddenly I was like, oh, I really want to do that video montage for the rehearsal dinner where, you know, he's a little baby growing up in the music that made me cry. And then I had to get photos from her family. They didn't know where they were. And, but it took quite a, you know, I knew they were getting married on Labor Day, and I started in January. So, which is Labor Day, September.
Yes.
And we still made it just under the wire, because trying to get the photos from her family, and then me getting around to getting my old photos digitized, and then the music and all the things that, but it was a trigger, and I'm glad I did it.
Yes. And it's everyone always says that once they've done it, they're really happy that they've done it. And I think that those kind of, like, it's usually like special birthdays, things like that, all of a sudden you're like, oh, it'd be so great if I did a photo book. And as you say, there's all those printed stuff. It's not just, oh, let's have a quick look through my digital photos on my iPhone. You want to do like baby photos, or you want to find, you know, all these old historic photos, the black and white ones for, you know, those type of events. And I think that's a trigger, because it kind of comes, as you say, it always takes a little bit longer than you think it's going to. But you've got a hard deadline there that you've got to hit. And if you then want to turn it into a photo book for, you know, Christmas or Mother's Day, we recently had Mother's Day in the UK. Everyone likes to do it on a different day. You know, so it's like, that date is not going to move. You've got to get it done by that. So there's usually something that pushes people to think, I should be doing something with my photos.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what is it that you think, that holds people from getting started, though? What is it that's that resistance? I think that, you know, it's definitely on everybody's to-do list, you know, a someday list, but it's hard to move it from someday to today.
Yeah. And I think it's so overwhelming. It's that, well, how do I start? Because if you think about all the stuff that we've just listed, you know, a load of printed stuff, a load of old media, a load of, you know, then you've got all these hard drives and computers and CDs and discs and computers, and just listing off that makes me feel a little bit anxious about the whole thing. So it's just when you just don't know where to start. And usually if we think about all those triggers that we've just talked about, all of those triggers are usually at a point in time when either it's not the best time for you to be doing it, you've had a disaster, you've inherited a load of stuff, or you've got this kind of emergency that you need to try and deal with while you're trying to do all of your photos. So it's just an overwhelming time to try and just do something that actually needs to be quite kind of step by step and thoughtful, and really think about how you're going to do it. And it's just, there's so many different ways, you know, it's like, well, where do I start? As you say, you know, if only there was a one magic button that you just pressed. And any kind of Googling will send you down a rabbit hole for hours of like how to do stuff. And it's just like, no, how do I do this? What do I do?
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. The photo managers, and I know you probably adhere to the 5-step principle, right? Which is, you know, steps are always helpful because it breaks down complex tasks into, I love steps, acronyms, and they really work. So what are the 5 steps of,
so we love steps, don't we, Cathi? We are all about the steps that go. So there's 5 simple steps, and, you know, we'll have a talk through them. So the first one is about setting your goal. The second one is about kind of collating, gathering, collecting, getting everything together. Bit of a hunt and gather. Next one's about sorting, then saving, and then sharing. Don't know why I've got 6, but 5. I think I started on the wrong finger. But yeah, so the goal at the start is thinking, well, where do I want to get to? And think about maybe mini goals where, what do I want to achieve? What is my final step? And what are going to be the mini goals to get me there? Because I think that just gives you a bit of a timeline. So as you say, if you've got an engagement party, is that one of your mini goals to go to? And therefore, almost kind of, you might focus on a particular area first and then start looking at everything else. So I think that kind of thinking about your goal. What do you think, Cathi, what's your thought processes on that
and
goal
I think people
side?
are probably surprised when we start out with the first one always as a goal. Like people think, oh, we're going to jump right into the steps. But really, if you don't have a purpose or a reason or kind of an incentive to what's motivating you, you're going to lose steam pretty quickly. I always say, we didn't create the photo, it's our life, right? So what took you a lifetime to accumulate is not going to take you a weekend to get in order. And I think people misunderstand the amount of time. Even myself, even as much as I say, oh, I knew enough to start in January, I really didn't think we would be like coming in under the wire. And I really thought, oh, I was like going to be really smart and it'd be done by June. And it just wasn't because, there's all sorts of reasons, right? So I think having that goal and also that you can change your goals, but like a main goal and then mini goals underneath that. Like, oh, I'd love to have all my photos organized to share with my family, my kids into the future. Well, let's break that down into.
That's a big goal. And I think that's ultimately where people want to get to. But it's like, what are the mini goals, or what are the, is there a particular, maybe, kind of, as you say, an event or a period of time that you just would love to sort out, whether it's a focus on your digital side or your printed side. It's kind of putting it into nice bite-sized chunks so it feels a lot less overwhelming. I think that's the bit, is how can we make it a little bit more manageable, but with the realization that it's not going to take, as you say, this is your lifetime. It's not going to be a weekend worth of work
in other people's lives.
Not
just your life, but your parents' lives, and so that's why the next one is the what we call that, the curate or collecting, the hunt and gather stage.
So we have to collect everything. It's what I like to call like the hunt and gather. So it's literally going around your house and thinking, right, where is everything? What is kind of getting like a big box, especially when it comes to digital. You've got those USB sticks that are probably in the back of a drawer somewhere, everyone's got kind of those, so it's just doing a bit of a hunt and gather and going, right, where is everything that I need and that I want to include in this project. Whether it might be that some of it is at someone else's house, it might be relatives' photos. So you were talking about collecting photos for the engagement. Where are they? Where are those photos? Where are you? Who do you need to speak to? Who might also have photos of your family tucked in their, basement that they inherited from someone? So it's just kind of thinking about gathering all of that together. And as you're doing that, doing a bit of an inventory at the same time. So it's really thinking, kind of keeping track. So how many hard drives have I got? How many USB sticks? How many boxes of photos? How many albums have I got? And then you'll start seeing things that you've missed. So is there an old phone somewhere, or is there some cine films, or are there VHS tapes? So you'll kind of start seeing where the gaps are and kind of going, that's where I'm missing stuff, and that's who I need to. Do I need to go and do I need to speak to my brother to give me some of the photos? So it's kind of just getting that real hunt and gather, but recognizing when you're doing this that no doubt, once you've already started sorting, you will find some more stuff.
I was going to say that was right. And you, as a professional, how many times have people given you all their photos, and then all of a sudden they think you're done with the project, and I found another box somewhere.
It's a bit of a running joke when I always say to people, it's like, find what you can, but I 100% guarantee that you will come along and go, so I found some more just out here. And also just think, all about all those online things as well, like Flickr accounts, and somebody, I've got some random selection of photos on Google Photos because I decided they were going to be where I was going to store it, and then I've changed my mind, or I've got some on OneDrive, or it's like thinking about all that online stuff as well, like what are the passwords, where are they? So so it's okay it's almost like you do kind of hunt and gather first, kind of measure it up, but don't sit there for 2 months going, I'm still hunting and gathering because I haven't found everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of thinking, that's fine. I've got more than enough to keep me going. I've got an inventory, and now I'm going to kind of slide into step 3, which is doing the sort. Which
Right.
I always say it sounds like it's just a simple word, isn't it? I'm just going to sort some stuff. It's going to be great, isn't it? It's going to be easy.
Honestly, the sorting or the curation, we use different words for it all the time, is the heart of the project. That's the biggest, most time consuming part, but the part that if you take the time to do it, you'll never regret. I think people like to think they can skip this part. Like, oh, let's just get all my photos I ever took scanned. But then it's like we always say garbage in, garbage out, right? If you get if you just scan the same mess of photos you had in the boxes and things, you're just going to have a digital. So let's talk about the ABCs of photo organizing.
Yes, we love the ABCs. It makes it, so A is for like your album stuff. So these are, so basically, just to step back a bit, people always kind of go, well, how do I sort my photos? And they think, I've got this table full of stuff and it's going to take up my entire space. And we always talk about like shoe boxes and dividers. So having a shoe box and stacking your photos in there just makes it so much easier to do the job and then pack it away. Because as we said, it's not going to take you a weekend. You can put it over in the shoebox and then you can pack it away. And it's having a shoebox for each of these categories. So you've got A, which is your albums. So these are your best photos. These are the photos that you love. These are the things that, you'll get, put into that lovely montage that you're going to do for the engagement, or make into a photo book, or put on a wall. So, one of my A photos behind me, that would be one of my A photos. And then B is like the box stuff. These are the ones that's like kind of support your A's, but you probably you might not digitize straight away. These are probably going to be your archive stuff. These are the things that support, kind of, it's part of your legacy, but not your super best.
Yeah.
And then
I always say the reason I came up, I came up with the ABCs gosh, a long time ago, but the B is because even myself, I would be like, oh, I don't know, is this an A photo or a B photo? I can't really make a decision. So knowing that when we go to the C, the idea of throwing photos away, there are photos we can't throw away, even if we think even if we know they were not an A photo. And so those go back in the box. Exactly. And then I love to joke, you can put a note on the box that if you've passed away, say, if you open this box and I'm gone, you have my permission to throw these photos away. Because so many people inherit boxes of photos and they just, if they move them from house to house because they don't know, they feel like guilty. Oh, I'm throwing away a person or a story or, so that's my little tidbit on B.
Yes. And I think that's where we slide smoothly into C, which is the can. And I would say that both of us are here to give people permission. It is okay to throw away your photos. It's okay to delete them. It's okay to throw away printed photos. I know it feels like really uncomfortable sometimes. You're like, these are our precious photos. These are our memories. But if you don't know what the hill is, if you don't know who the people are, if it's a duplicate, if it's a bad shot, if it's, if you just don't like it, it's okay to throw it away. Just throw it away. It's fine. It's okay. So I think people feel really uncomfortable about doing that sometimes.
They do. And when I've done presentation, it'd be funny people here to like, what is it? We should do like a survey, go like a man on the street, do you throw your photos away? And if not, why? Because when you ask people why they usually will say, well, I think I'm throwing away a memory. I'm throwing away a person. I also think psychologically, because we paid to have them printed, it's like you're throwing away, you would throw away receipts and junk mail, but we think of photos. We don't realize that, poorly composed photos or lots of scenery shots is really just junk mail. Yes. But I think we just psychologically have had a hard time letting that stuff go. And it makes it so much easier to let it go.
And I think we all did, when we went and got them developed, we all ticked that little box going, I want a second copy, before you knew whether they were any good, and half of them were atrocious shots. So it was like, oh no, I want a second copy so I can then put them on a wall or whatever. And then you just kind of tuck that little, second copy away, and you're like, well, I've got 2 bad shots. Why am I keeping even one of these? So it's like, it's okay. It's okay to throw them away and get rid of them. And I think it's kind of, please just throw them away. It's fine.
You'll feel better about it at the end. of the project. I did have one client I remember working with though. I had to take the garbage bags away because she was afraid she'd go out in the middle of the night back into her garbage to get them out. And
Yeah.
she's never called me never called me sad that I did that for her though. So
yeah, I'm doing exactly the same with a client actually who I'm seeing tomorrow. I was like, oh, these are the ones we've thrown away. She's like, don't bring them again because I'm just going to go through them and bring them back in. And I was like, no, okay, we're just going to those away. You'll never know. Be fine. So yeah, so I think that's so we've got the ABCs, but there also is an S at the end of that ABCs as well, isn't there? There's a S for stories, and yeah, so these are the ones that aren't necessarily your best photos. They're not, the ones that are going to be in a box. These are not the ones that you're going to love and cherish, but they tell a story about you and your life. And I always talk about a photo, and which is a picture of my dad doing some DIY. And in the photo, he's helping put up the bed frame for me in my new house. And he's managed to get, there's like a towel rail that he was using to prop up all the pieces of the bed frame. And he's managed to get the towel rail stuck. He's like screwed it into the bed frame. And it's not a photo that I'm not going to put on the wall. I don't love it, but I love it because it makes me laugh about the fact that he was so bad at DIY. So no one else knows that as a story. My brother probably knows it, but it's just like, it's not going to go in a photo album, but I love the story that goes with it. So I think that's, that it's remembering all of those as well, like the quirky things that, was there a particular quirk around your house? Like, picture of a door or something, like why have I got a picture of the door? Well, what's the story that goes with it? Or, things like that. So I think that it's kind of not just thinking, is this the most perfect shot of me and my family? It's thinking, what is the story? What is your story that you want to tell?
Right. Because that's, after all, at the end of the day, I always say once, we are by nature as human beings, we're people of stories. We tell stories, since the beginning of time, oral traditions, we passed down stories sitting around the campfire. And once cameras were put in our hands, we became visual storytellers. And now that we have phones in our hands at all times, we obviously are like just way too many, way too much on the visual storytelling, but we all love it, right? We all do it. We want it. And it's so, but it's because we're telling a story. The photo's going to tell the story, and that's the point of this. So
and I think it's capturing those stories as well. So it's kind of like, what other ways not to add to the amount of stuff that you've got, but it's also thinking, what kind of audio kind of stories could you easily capture to go with this kind of sort that you're doing. So the story about me and my dad and his bad DIY. What other stories?
Right. I mean, there's so much great technology about ways to do that today. I mean, we get exposed to some incredible early adapter technology and stuff. Yes. And I saw something yesterday too, that's just incredible. The way that the old black and white, old scan photos, they train AI, they can tell you, like, it's crazy. I mean, you would think that you would never know anything about those photos, but actually you can learn.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. So I think it's all just about those photos and the memories. Oh, I think Cathy's having. Are you still there?
My back. Why is my internet?
Yeah, your back's fine.
Oh, I don't know why. We do have some handouts, right, that are being linked, I hope, in the chat.
Yes. Yeah, we do. I think they're either in the chat or they'll be in the description at the bottom, which is around the 5 steps. I think I saw that one appear. And then I've also got like a quick start guide as well to help people kind of quickly start their photo organizing journey, which also talks about these kind of elements and the inventory and also how to keep going with the project as well. Because I think that's the thing, is as you're doing the project is kind of almost like celebrating the wins as you go along. That's also a good thing. So rather than just crackle on.
I hope I'm not. I might be. I don't know why my internet is freezing a bit.
I can still see.
You can see a little bit, right? A little freezing. Okay. So, well, how do you get, so what's the steps of people that they're listening to this? I know we have a lot of questions, so we want to make sure that we get to those.
So we've got as far as 3, didn't we? Step 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. I mean, what was I think? I think I got thrown off.
Step 4 yet. The most important one, sort of. So the step 4 is all about saving it. So making sure that you are backing up all of the stuff that you've got. So it's making sure that you are backing up properly. And when I say properly, I mean down a one-way street. So backing it up so it becomes an island. So if things crash or you need to recover it, you can go to that island and go and pick it up. So it's like putting it onto a shelf and then bringing it back, not syncing. So Apple iCloud is a syncing service. If I went to your phone and deleted all of your photos, it would go from everywhere. Yes, it would be in the trash can for about 30 days. But if I went to the trash can and deleted it, it would go everywhere. There'd be no way of you like recovering it. So just make sure whatever you do, you can tell I'm quite passionate about this, that you are backing it up, and make sure that you're backing it up properly. And backing up for printed photos, can be archival boxes. I've just seen somebody
right next to my computer, my little
there we go.
you know.
But yes, but also kind of just almost like backing up as well, like your printed photos, because essentially they are one of your backups. So it's putting them into like museum archive boxes, making sure that those boxes are not in the attic or the basement. Putting them, I always say they should live where you live. So put them in the house so that you can, so that they will last as well. But all that digital stuff, making sure you're backing up. And if you do put it online, make sure everyone knows the password. That's always a good idea, because otherwise that gets lost. So we've backed everything up, but step 5 that Cathi was getting a bit excited about. Step 5 is the most important part, which is about sharing it. So what's the point of doing all of this if you don't share everything that you've done? So it's all about kind of sharing those memories, whether it's doing lovely video montages or doing photo books or digital photo frames or websites. It's just making sure that you're letting everyone know all this lovely stuff that you found. I always say I love embarrassing my brother with all the wonderful digital photos that I've done of him when he was younger and sharing them with his children. So that's my job.
And there's so many great, I mean, like the digital photo frames, we have a great relationship with Nick's Play. It's a great company, but there's other companies as well. But where I was just with a girlfriend this weekend, and she was saying how her mom, they just discovered the digital photo frame for her because her grandchildren, she's now become a great grandmother, and they are not, the grandkids aren't sending photos, like the old fashioned way she expected. So they got her the digital photo frame, and she just can't believe that every day photos appear on her frame, and she's watching the baby grow. And so she's just so thrilled.
Yes, she loves it. Yeah, I've got one, and my mom's got one, and my brother will then send photos to the digital photo frame while they're still on holiday. So that is slightly annoying. So like, here we are on holiday, and I'm like, I'm not on holiday. Great. But I think that's kind of, that's a lovely way to share. And I also, for my family archive, I use SmugMug, which I know that we do some work with as well. So they do really nice ways of kind of like websites and big collections, because once you've got it on there, you can then password protect it and do nice websites. That's really great for kind of those family collections if you don't want to put it into any of the and things like that.
Yeah. One other quick thing I realized I did get carried away when my internet froze. You can break the rules too. I like to say a lot is that you break the rules too. Like another rule that I tell people you can break is I always say we're living in date time order, right? Today is Tuesday, in March, tomorrow will be Wednesday. It was St. Patrick's Day was Sunday, but we remember thematically, like even using St. Patrick's Day as an example, right? Maybe you're a family that, is Irish roots, and you just like every year you go to the St. Patrick's Day parade. It's much more interesting to see photos of all the different photos over the years of the St. Patrick's parade than it is to see like everything in like time date order, right? So you don't have to always organize your photos in chronological order.
Yeah, and I tend to kind of do a bit of a mix for people as well, because there's like things that happen every year. So whether they go to the same place on holiday or like favorite pets. I've got one client who she loves a dog. And obviously there's a lot of pictures of dogs, but throughout the years. So it would be, lovely for her to be able to find all of those dogs and, be able to enjoy them. So you don't have to do years, months and days, whichever. I think what works for you that you have to do, because you're the ones that are going to enjoy it, but then also explain to people what you've done is also a very good thing. But you don't have to follow the year month structure. Do whatever works for you and your collection. Definitely.
Yeah. So now hopefully we motivated people. And again, we'll go to these questions in a moment, but how do people get started now? What are some of the things they can do?
Yeah, so there's all sorts of ways. So obviously there are, kind of our YouTube channels, because we have, the photo managers, and we have Amanda Littlecott, the photo organizer, which you would all obviously be subscribing to, because we are all about helping people kind of on their journey to be able to sort and organize their photos. So there's all sorts of YouTubes, there's courses. So I have a course called Photo Mess Success, which is focused around digital photo sorting, and the photo managers, you've got your academy as well, where people can, do it themselves to be able to kind of start themselves on the journey. But that isn't the only option, because if you don't want to do it yourself and you're just feeling overwhelmed just by listening to us talk about all this, or you might be feeling excited, there is the other option, which is a photo manager, which Cathi, tell us, as a photo manager myself, but Cathi, as our, head honcho at the photo managers, what's a photo manager?
What is a photo? I know, such a great question. It's almost going to be 15 years ago, but 15 years ago, somebody asked me how much I charged to make them a photo album and to to make an album. And I said, well, I can't make an album because I made scrapbooks in those days. And I had started making digital scrapbooks. And I said, your photos need to be organized because I need a beginning, middle, and end. And she said, well, how much do you charge? And I was like, you're my friend, I can't charge you. And she was a really good friend. She said, no, I insist that you let me pay you. I paid a professional organizer or a declutterer when I was moving. And it was like, oh, somebody would pay me for this. And so sure enough, she paid me, and I started a business here in where I live in Connecticut. And I was busy very quickly, and people kept hiring me to make it. Then it ended up not just being albums, but they hired me to scan photos. And then they asked me about, what do I do with these old home movies? And then what do I do with these letters I got from my grandparents? And I just realized that really there is this huge opportunity to help people put their arms around their vast collections about the things that matter most to them. And so people started saying, like, can you teach me how to do this? And so I created the photo managers. We're an association, membership association. You pay an annual fee. We have an annual conference, and it's just an amazing group because everybody learns together. The technology keeps changing. There's more than enough business. We're growing we have certification where Amanda's certified. So she's been vetted. We've checked her, she's learned best practices. And and we have members all over the world, and we're growing all the time.
Yes.
And new members joining so if you're looking for a business, it's a great business. And we also added something in January called Photo Manager in Training, because we realized a lot of people were joining thinking they were just going to get their own photos organized first. So it's a less expensive membership level, but that way it's a whole year. So we'll walk you through the whole process month by month, step by step over the course of a year. You're with lots of other people doing it. We have lots of different ways you meet with each other and support each other. And we give you discounts and things at that time, deciding, is this something I really want to do for other people? So that's another option that we've created in the past year. And it's made I think we have almost 100 people in that program now, and they're loving it, and it's really fun. So
yeah, and there's so many different options. Like if you need a photo manager who can just do printed stuff, there'll be people who will specialize in that, or photo books, or digital stuff, or there'll be people who do everything. So yeah, and so on the website you can find your local photo manager. And yes, there's a little gang of us over here this side of the pond as well. And yeah, we're global.
I'm excited to come. They're having their second regional or second meeting of the EU group in Amsterdam in October. I can't wait I've never been to Amsterdam. So there's enough people. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, this is a worldwide problem. It's in everybody has the problem, and everybody cares deeply about their photos. I feel like this is the one thing that if the whole world could just open up a box of photos, somebody's family photos, we'd see immediately how much more alike we all are than different. Right.
Definitely. Yeah, we all have our own little quirks. I love a sunset. That's me. I love taking sunsets. Way too many sunsets in my life.
But you're right. But I'm sure families in your dad, like, your dad, like putting,
exactly.
Obviously I can tell you something about your dad right off the bat. If he's a man who wanted to help put together that project for you, and he's not even a great DIY guy, but he loves you because he showed up to help you into your apartment, right? I mean, that's
exactly. He tried.
He's a good guy.
He could paint. He could paint a mean ceiling, but that was about it. He was tall, so he did a really good job of that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of it, and also the content that we're creating. We are continuing to make more content. So it's not standing still. Yes, we might not be making any more kind of printed content, but I think that's making a bit of a comeback as well. But, you know, we are continuing to create more and more and more stuff. And if it's just getting you to that point and then you can maintain it going forward, that's, you know, that is where photo managers can help you as well. Just kind of go, let's just get you to a point where you can maintain it.
Right. I mean, a lot of our members have clients like, I mean, you pay somebody maybe to mow your lawn or to clean your house or something. There's no reason why you can't have a photo manager who they know you. They get to know your family. They can go in and maintain your photo collection like on a monthly renewal. And then at the end of the year, you create that family photo book. They've gone through, curated the collection month by month. I mean, there's so many ways that professional photo managers can work with clients. And and Cathi, I noticed I just see it jump. C means can. Yes, it means you can throw them in the can. Trash, you know.
Yes. Send it in the trash. Or for those, or for those British people, the rubbish bin. We'll put that one in there.
Yeah, the rubbish bin, right. It didn't work with ABCs, you know, so we had
ABR doesn't work. So can works better. We get that.
So good. I think is there anything else we want to address before we jump into questions?
No, I think it's just, you know, kind of, just start your journey, however way it works.
And the questions, I guess I'm used to doing this when we do it through webinars. People read off the questions to us, but is Rebecca going to do that? I didn't know if
I can help with that, Cathi.
Also, we didn't talk about that part.
So one of the first questions that came in was about sorting, and you guys kind of addressed this already, but they were wondering about pictures of scenery. Some people say to get rid of all the scenery, but is there some line where you keep some to remember the vacations, or is it any picture without people that we know?
I think it comes down to a personal choice. My kind of guidance always says, if you don't know where it is, then there's no point in keeping it, because if you don't know where the hill is, unlike digital photos, printed photos only give us so many clues to say where they are. So I've got some random hills of, you know, the north of England in the Lake District, and I don't know where they are, so I have got rid of them. But then there are some sceneries that are worth keeping just to show the passage of time. So you know, if I took photos of London, you know, back in the 80s and took the same picture now, it would be different. So I wouldn't be able to recreate that scenery again. So therefore I would keep that. I think it's just kind of thinking, is it telling me a story? Does it mean anything to me? And then kind of saying, is it adding to my collection? You could do what Cathi said, which is, you know, put it into that little box section if you weren't sure if it was on the maybe pile. But keeping a shed load of, you know, random hills that you have no idea where they are, then probably not.
Yeah. The other way I like to address that too is, you know, for some people it's an artistic expression, right? You know, you're playing with your camera settings and maybe you're, you know, editing the scenery shots or things like that. Then, you know, then it's your choice. But I think when you're thinking about long-term viewing and long-term enjoyment, then I think just a handful. I always like to say, well, let's hope, you know, we hope the sunset and rose today, it'll do the same tomorrow, and, you know, and again. But I think in the end, you're making that decision maybe for yourself, and you can also maybe make a note, like, I'm choosing to keep all these scenery shots, but for my family's future, for the future of my photo collection, feel free to delete these, but the people photos is really what we care about.
Yeah. And even then, like, you know, when I was going through the collection with my mum, she was like, I don't know who these people are, and we're never going to know who they are. So we kind of made a decision of some of them to go, that's okay. You know, they are random family or like friends of family that we're never going to know. So, but yeah, so I think sometimes it's okay just to go with how you feel. There is no right or wrong. There is no hard and fast rule.
Yeah, there's no rules.
Do what works for you and your collection.
Okay, so the next question, we had this both for physical photos and digital. Any brief suggestions around storing photos properly?
Yeah, so we mentioned about archive boxes. So there is special, like, kind of what we call like museums. So they're kind of asset-free boxes that there's some great sources in the US, and there are some sources over in Europe as well, that are a really good way to store your photos because it won't destroy them. I don't know if anyone's ever found what I like to call the red wonder photo, which is those photos that have gone a horrible shade of like red and you can't see the colors in them. That's because you've been storing them in like albums that will eat into your photos. and, you know, turn them this lovely shade of red. So storing them in kind of archive boxes, and then storing them in something that, you know, that will keep them away from moisture and keep them safe, which is where we then talk about keeping them where you live. So that's kind of printed photos. Cathi, I don't know, is there anything else on printed photos?
Yeah. And I think when you know, like the shoe boxes that you buy at the dollar store or the craft store are not the shoe boxes that they're great for the sorting process, but not for the long-term photo safety. Those you want to go to, you know, you can just Google archival boxes. There's a company here we recommend highly called Archival Methods. They're in Rochester, New York. Great company. I don't know who you all, I know there's companies.
So in the UK, we have a company called Preservation Equipment Limited. So they do really lovely kind of, you know, nice, simple archive boxes. So
and this is the reason why we're talking about the sorting, is that, again, that you don't have to buy lots of those boxes, because if you've sorted your photos, you're only keeping, you know, the best photos in those boxes. So you don't have to go spend a fortune on, you know, hundreds of archival safe boxes.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like getting your old shoe boxes to sort your photos. And then once you're done and you've got it down to a nice little collection, you'll know how many boxes you need to go in. And that's the bit I love. So which is like kind of looking it all together. But then kind of digital stuff, again, it's kind of about what works for you. We always talk about the 3-2-1 kind of storage, which is you should have 3 copies of your digital stuff at any one time across 2 different formats, whether it's a hard drive, cloud, hard drive, computer. So it's just kind of having 2 different formats. And then one we say should be offsite. So if you're using things like hard drives, don't have all your hard drives sat in a drawer, because that's no help if something happens to the drawer. Have one either offsite or kind of a cloud could kind of class as an offsite, but just making sure that you've got enough copies should disaster strike. And having the cloud is not on its own is not a backup strategy, because, you know, these are big companies, they are not infallible, and also sometimes not always easy to get them out of the cloud. But yeah, just making sure that you're following that backup strategy for your digital photos as well. And if you're backing stuff up from your phone, make sure it's doing it. That's you know, if you need to open up the app, double check to make sure you're doing it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one came in. Let me just find it again. The next one that came in was about sorting. So they asked, the idea of separating the best from the others, the A's from the B's, feels challenging, because then when you're scanning and organizing the stories, you need to remarry those into chronological order. So do you have to keep them in chronological order while you're sorting, or no?
So I use little kind of paper dividers in the boxes as I'm doing it. So, you know, if it's like, you know, mum's 80th birthday or something like that, she's not 80 yet, don't tell her that. So, you know, if it's like somebody's birthday, so that you can then marry them up, you can do it that way. So that then when you digitize them, you can then marry them up that way. But as we said, the box is probably the ones that you're probably, the B's, you may not digitize straight away anyway. So these are the ones that, you know, you'll kind of open the box and go, it's okay to throw away. So the A's are the ones that you will be doing something with, that you will be digitizing, that you will be kind of thinking about, how am I going to share these? What am I going to do with this? Am I going to put it onto my digital photo frame or get them printed? So that's kind of the thought process. But yeah, having little dividers helps.
Yeah. And again, you know, the B's, normally we wouldn't recommend that you scan the B's. That's the idea, again, of saving yourself a lot of time and energy and money, the process of that scanning. And then, because then you're just going to have them all digital as well. So ideally, you're going to keep the A's separate from the B's.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question, any favorite sites for sharing with large families?
Yeah, so large families. So for my family archive, I use SmugMug, which is kind of, it was set up for photo kind of organized for photographers to share kind of all their photos and sell to clients. So they're really nice. Obviously, nothing in life is free, so everything, you know, you have to pay for it. But they're really good because you can load up kind of unlimited kind of numbers of photos, and then you can do really nice websites and control access to it. That's usually, if there's a big kind of family collection and archive, that's usually the point where I point people towards. I know Mylio, Cathi, you've done some kind of work with them. They're a really good kind of, you know, option to be able to share and engage with your photos. I would say wherever you're going to put it, always think about how, if you ever wanted to get it out, how would you get it out? Because is it easy to get it out, or is it okay to be leaving it there? Am I committed? Am I okay to be paying this for a period of time? Yeah. So kind of, some people love Google Photos. If anyone's ever tried to get photos out of Google Photos, it's a fun job. So if you love Google Photos, then go down that route. But know that it's not that easy to get out.
Apple as well doesn't want you to break up with them.
Exactly. They want to hold on to your photos.
They're not going to make it easy.
Yeah. Yes. So, but if you are a lover of that route, that's fine. Just know what you're getting yourself into. And I would say probably large family collections in Apple Photos will get very unwieldy very quickly, and sharing them would be a bit of a challenge. So same for Google Photos.
All right, so this one's a question about duplicates. Any suggestions on how to deal with duplicates, especially when they're in different places, like unsorted boxes and photo albums?
So that sounds like we're talking about kind of printed duplicates. So if you think, that's why once you've sorted them and you put them into these kind of sections, you can spot the duplicates. I've seen that if I saw the same picture of somebody by a wall, I've seen it 20 times. After a while, you'll start seeing the duplicates. What I would say is try and find the original source material, and that's the one to keep. So I saw the same picture of somebody's mum on a balcony, and I saw the same thing about 5 times. And then I found the original source material, which was the slide that it came from, and then I digitized that. So trying to find the original source material of all those duplicates, because usually there's a reason why you've taken a duplicate, because you loved it and it was the best photo. So just kind of, as you go sorting, you'll see them. When it comes to like digital stuff, there are some great tools out there to help you find those duplicate photos. So there's Photo Sweeper for the Mac. My favorite is Photo Sweeper for the Mac, or Duplicate Cleaner Pro for the PC. Those are great little tools to be able to find those duplicate photos. And actually I did a test recently around finding duplicate photos of stuff I digitized, because I knew that there was digital versions of them, and Photo Super did an amazing job of finding those digitized versions of a digital, so I'd taken it, I digitized it, and then the client found the old digital version. It did a really good job of finding the duplicates. Duplicate Cleaner Pro did a decent job, but there are tools out there to help you.
Awesome. Thanks for your question, Amy. We have another question from another Amy here about, she wants some backup with her family here. Is it okay for her to throw out albums after digitizing? Her brothers don't want her to.
Oh, okay. So yes, well, as in like, so the old printed albums, if they don't want her to throw them out, then I would say they need to store them.
That's a good answer.
Like cruel about it. But I think when, once you've digitized them, it is a personal choice. I have some people who are like, no, just throw them away. I don't want them. There are people who are like, no, I would like to keep them. If you do have the negatives, that's always a good thing to keep, because then you can go back to that source material and digitize them again as technology grows and how we improve how we digitize stuff. But if you don't like the albums, I would say that especially those like sticky albums, if you can get the photos out of those albums, it's worth getting them out of the albums and then sticking them in a box, because it will save you a ton of space. So yeah, you'd be surprised, how much space you can save just by taking it out of the albums if you don't want them. So yeah, but if her brothers want to keep them, then I would say they need to find somewhere to store them, because he's storing those.
All right, so I think we have time for one more question. You guys have answered most of the questions coming into the chat. So this one's just about negatives. What do you recommend for how to deal with printed negatives?
So negatives, you can actually digitize negatives. There are scanners out there, or there is a wealth of photo managers who will do that for you. Actually going back to the negatives is sometimes a better way of getting the image, because if you scan from a printed photo, you are sort of at the mercy of the settings that whoever did it at which your photo processing place. You're at the mercy of whatever they decided were the right settings for your photo. And in fact, I saw a load of photos and I thought I was going nuts, because there was a piece of fluff in every single photo. And I thought I was like, what have I done? How have I managed to get the same piece of fluff in exactly the same spot in every single photo? And then I went back to the negatives. There was no fluff. So obviously whoever had taken those, wherever they digitize, turn them into printed photos, they hadn't cleaned their printer properly. So yeah, if you can keep the negatives and digitize from there. If you don't think that you're going to be able to do it yourself, then yeah, a photo manager will be able to digitize those at the original kind of quality.
Yeah,
and also kind of easier to store.
There'll be a much better quality. I know I made the mistake of throwing away negatives, thinking they didn't matter once I had the prints, not realizing that that's considered the truer source. Yeah. And so it's the original. And so the quality is significantly better when it's scanned than of a print. It costs a little bit more, but again, then you're, it's just you'll be shocked at if we showed you a list of a JPEG, just a scan of a photo compared to the same photo as negative, the clarity and everything is going to be significantly greater.
And also, just as a photo manager, it's the fun. I love doing that. That negatives and slides. It's like you just open up a world to something that's so small, and you just kind of go, "This is amazing," because it just develops into this amazing digital photo of the original colors and the slides. Just it's turned into a little bit of a digitizing geek at that point. Can't help.
All right, thanks for your questions, everyone. And if you have questions, you're watching on the replay, feel free to add them to the comments, and we'll be checking back there, and you'll be able to get an answer there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, myself and Cathi are, open to questions on our channels as well. I always love interacting with all of our followers to see what their problems are or how they're solving these problems, because everyone else has found great solutions out there as well.
Yeah, and Amanda does a great job with her program, and we do for the photo managers. We have on this Thursday too. We're doing the top 10 photo products that photo managers use. I surveyed our photo managers. We got 10 volunteers, 10 different products. That'll be Thursday. So if you're interested in some of these different products, but also in terms of becoming a photo manager, we have lots of webinars and things on that. And I always say, I just saw a question. What does it take? I would say there's 3 characteristics of a good photo manager. Let's see if you agree with me, Amanda.
Okay, am I gonna
I think you will. But first one is, are you a lifelong learner? Are you willing to, because this market is changing rapidly, just like everything. So if you enjoy learning new things and doesn't mean you don't get intimidated, because we all can get intimidated by new technology and things, but you're willing to give it a try, that you have curiosity, that you are interested in people, that you're interested in stories, you're interested in history. You get excited when you digitize a negative or something and it pops up in a whole different way. If you're that person, and if you want to make a difference in people's lives, and then it's a great business. And you don't have to have a background in photography. You don't have to have a background in technology, but those characteristics really help people get started.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Tick, tick, tick. That's good. Yeah. And I would say, the background of photography. So I am, I'm not a photographer. I am a curious technological learner, I would say. So I don't, didn't necessarily have a history in tech, but I love learning new stuff. So, and I love sharing that with people and helping them on their journey as well. So
yeah, the backgrounds are fascinating. When we do a survey, like what did you do before you were a photo manager? And we have everything from attorneys to, I don't know. It's just incredible, the backgrounds that people come from, but they have those characteristics.
Yeah. Supply chain consultants.
Yeah. You were a supply chain consultant, right? Yeah.
No, people have to go and Google what that was.
I was a sales. I worked I sold advertising in my local TV, on my local TV station. So.
Exactly. Well, great. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. And I hope everyone has learned a little bit of something about organizing their photos.
Thank you. And I look forward I'll see Amanda in just a couple of weeks in Columbus at our annual conference. Yay. So
I'm coming across the pond.
Come across the pond. We can't wait to welcome you. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Fantastic.